RAW Smackdown. They've existed in different worlds on television, but could the brand split with the main roster of WWE be ending soon? What do you, the fans, think? Get in the comments below and let us know. We're covering that on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. Plus, what is the future of All Elite Wrestling with their television contract coming up within the horizon type future? Could it be changing? And how does the new merge Discovery and Warner Media view their television property? Killer Cross, what is his wrestling future with the television promotion that you would think would want him now that he's free from WWE? Yes, it's somewhat obvious. We'll talk about that. Plus, Nikita Lyons is on the shelf. So much more to get into. We're also talking about Sasha Banks. What is she doing outside of WWE that involves Snoop Dogg? We'll be talking about it, all right? Yes. And let me just tell you, Sportskeeda is the case that they gave you.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It is Kellam. This is indeed top story on a Wednesday. Watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out!
Yes. The Watch Out Gang is here. If you're here for the first time, get in the comments below. We want to hear you get on screen. Super chats guarantee you get on screen, but we love just putting people on like this person who's checking in. Mountain Man, love his booze. Love that tag name. Love his booze up in the mountain. He's watching from Colorado. If you're watching for the first time, you just want to be a lurker, just tell us where you're watching from. We do like that. You like the topics today? Get into it. We're talking Sasha Banks. We're talking Snoop Dogg. We're talking Killer Cross.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting around for those, don't worry. They'll coming up here in a minute. I'm Kellam. That's Jose G. This is Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. We get interactive. We do it every single weekday. Slam the like button. I challenge all of you watching right now to do it. Do it.
Do it now.
Do it. Like Snitsky and Hutch. Do it. Let's get right into it. This news has been bubbling up, and some people have maybe just theorized this, but now we kind of have some concrete reporting on it, though no direct sources from WWE confirming it at this time. Monday at Raw is airing on NBC Universal's USA Network along with NXT in a multi-billion-dollar deal that also ties in Peacock with their streaming service in the United States and North America. SmackDown has another lucrative billion-dollar deal with Fox Television, both those deals coming up in 2024. They expect WWE to have to get a hefty price for it. But an interesting thing is when they went in that direction with two major media conglomerates and you're doing television with them, WWE becoming the most profitable version of itself it's ever been, despite not touring, through the pandemic for the most part. You saw a lot of money in that. And then you saw them do some really defined different rosters. You would see them, of course, merge on WrestleManias and SummerSlams and pay-per-views and stuff like that. And then they started to merge more often. And people said, the roster thing doesn't mean anything. Now we're hearing that the brand split could be ending. Well, this kind of lays up Roman Reigns winning both world titles from Raw and SmackDown. He has the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship. We just saw the Usos win the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships. So where is this going? Are more dots connecting on a brand split being ended in WWE?
Well, before I jump into this news, we want to send a happy birthday to our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Happy birthday, broski. Yeah, man. So the WWE is, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with this brand split. But today, Bryan Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer Live, he said that although the promotion is yet to rubber stamp it, the split is effectively over. The brand split has been loose for several months with SmackDown assigned Usos and Sami Zayn wrestling on this week's episode of Raw. So we've been seeing more of this coming back and forth. Yet nothing confirmed by WWE. But Bryan Alvarez, usually a pretty good source, looks like right now, looks like it's effectively over. We still don't have any confirmation from WWE, but it's been like that for several weeks. So I don't know if they're going to continue doing that until the draft, and then we get them separated again. I don't know.
In the words of the offspring, do you have to keep them separated? I know I've made many song references today. I'm just on that kick. Jeff Samuel says, Kev, don't do that. I didn't know Kev knew the Dog Pound album. Homez have none. Well, I roll old school, kick it like an old fool. I mean, I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm sipping gin and juice, and I'm not going to apologize for it. All right. Can't tell me nothing. All right. I beefed it up to like the mid 2000s. I did some Kanye West, some pre-Kim Kanye. That's my choice, Kanye. What's up, noob? Joining us on our Twitch channel as well. You guys can join us on our brand new Twitch channel. We're going to be doing some stuff in there that we won't do on YouTube and Facebook. So I don't know what here's the thing. I understand where some fans like, give me the same roster on both shows. Give me the same roster on both shows. But you're seeing this difference, and you've seen it since Fox obviously reaches more people to network television. It's not on a premium cable service like Raw is. So Raw, you can get on Hulu, though. Some people just get Hulu and just stream both shows on a day after demand. That's how I tend to watch the shows. A lot of people ask me, how come you're not live tweeting during wrestling shows? Well, unless I'm watching it live. I tend to just watch it on Hulu. It's a little bit more convenient. I think this is a part of, we want to be able to sell the show as one product in terms of advertisers. Maybe this makes it a little bit easier for advertisers. I start thinking the media business type things. But then what's the leverage if you want to sign two separate television deals in 2024 and say we have two different shows that offer these different, obviously they'll blend together here and there and build to these big events on Peacock. They have to. And if you're Fox and you want to keep doing business with SmackDown, they have to. But it's interesting how this plays out. And is it something where they're going to split up the streaming deal? Is like half the streaming events going to be on this?
That's another question you got to ask yourself too, because if you guys remember back in 2016, 2017, when we had a true brand split, even though both shows were on the same network on USA, you had separate pay-per-views for each show. Even now, it was an overload of pay-per-views back then because it was a pay-per-view every 2 weeks, one for Raw, one for SmackDown. I don't know how this is going to work now, all these years later, if they end up unifying them and then separating them again. There's a lot of mixed messaging on, to be honest, from my end, Kevin.
Shout out to JB. He's always with us. He's enjoying a Guinness and a Jameson. Wow, that's going to mix well in your belly.
He's on assignment. He's on assignment today.
He's on assignment. He's not on assignment. Jeff Samuel, you got to ask the question. Also, Jose, what happened with Survivor Series? That brand supremacy and all that stuff. I don't think people care. I think people have routines. All right, it's easier for me to watch wrestling on Monday. It's easier for me to watch wrestling on a Friday. I enjoy watching Raw on a Tuesday. I like my SmackDown. I like my SmackDown as my Saturday morning cartoons now. I wake up, I watch SmackDown.
That's exactly what I do.
I'll sometimes I'll watch half of SmackDown and I'll watch the rest the next day. Oh, that looks like it's gonna be a main event, but I'm a 30-something dude. I want to go out and drink and do comedy shows and other things. Everyone has a different life. So I wonder how this plays into the routine. I think another thing you gotta ask yourself is if they merge the brands, you're talking about one roster then. You're not talking about divided rosters. Then you have to ask yourself, well, how many people do we need? How much talent do we want on the road? Do we have just a B team that goes out and does house shows, and there's some people that float in between that? Or do we just have NXT and then the main roster? And you don't have a Raw or a SmackDown. You just have a main roster. Now you're talking about people competing for a lot less spots. And you know how people complain about, this person doesn't get enough time on TV. Why don't they do this? You're going to hear a lot more of that. And what changed that 20 years ago was the introduction of a brand split. Eddie Guerrero would have never been a world champion in WWE if there wasn't a brand split. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that in the sense of what the pecking order was when he was there.
Before the brand split and prior to 2016, it was kind of like that format too, when we only had, we had the world heavyweight champion and we had the WWE champion back then, but it was different. It was different because then we also had the unification where we ended up getting the world heavyweight title. And then we saw like John Cena going, to Raw and SmackDown for about a year or two before they ended up doing the full final split in 2016. So I don't know if this is true, if this brand split is over, or they're still kind of doing the brand extension invitationals and they're just not telling us. But it's a very weird premise. I don't know. Again, it's just not clear.
I want to hear what fans are thinking. John McClaskey, my thoughts are if they didn't drop half the roster, they would be limited on storylines or wrestlers to fill a show. That's absolutely true. But I mean, it would definitely, if they did that, don't think that they wouldn't rethink what they need. They put talent into what they think they're writing for and what they think they're programming. And you have to think that way. Everyone thinks like that when you're putting together a music festival, when you're putting together lineups for any type of entertainment offering or anything like that, or a television network or all those different things, casting a show. Imagine you're running a play. All right, well, how many different casts of this play are we going to have? All right, we're only going to run a Friday and a Saturday show. All right, we don't need 3 different casts for the show. Think about that. If you ever did high school theater, like how people fight for those spots, very similar, very, very similar, with a lot more money involved. So, well worth talking about here. Wangala is saying, give more wrestlers chances to showcase them. Here's the thing. I think you get less. You would get less because would you have the same storyline show to show, or is it simply just WWE saying, hey, we're going to have different rosters, and maybe we'll have a different tag team champion or this or that. Or we just want to like blur the lines a little bit until they're allowed to do that. You know, they're allowed to break their like some of their rules. The only rules that really matter to WWE are if we advertise something, we will work our way around. If we can't deliver it, we're going to try and deliver you something else that we think is of equal value. They break the rule on that all the time. They kind of have to with a lot of different things with COVID too. That happened plenty, but now you see them doing it left and right, and it drives people crazy. But I think for the most part, like they have to deliver what they're selling, right? To their sponsors and to their TV partners and different stuff like that. Is this less of that? You know, if you're giving me the same roster on both shows.
I don't know, man. I think WWE is going to try to get away with as much as possible before getting yelled at by the networks, because I'm sure like the networks are going to want to have their exclusive stars, right? Like that's why you don't see Roman Reigns as much on Monday Night Raw, because he's SmackDown, he's Fox, over 2 million people see him on a weekly basis. But I still got the feeling that WWE is going to do anything that they can to just kind of keep pushing it until either Fox or NBC is like, all right, cut that shit out. I only want to have a certain amount of stars on this show. Stop bringing Raw stars over to Fox. Stop bringing Fox stars over to USA. So I don't know. I don't know. I think they're probably going to do that.
It's certainly interesting here. Someone laying this up as well. Ray would have never been world champion. That mid 2000s time when you saw a lot of talent come up in that ruthless aggression era because of the brand split. Like it was really, and it was when they had that edict of I want to see ruthless aggression. He was like, that was their edict to talent. Like we're giving you more time if you're in the mid card and you're in the lower positions because those spots are opening up, but you better run with this opportunity.
And it's also very different at that time because you're
completely different time.
Attitude.
Yeah.
You're coming off of the Attitude Era. You have an influx of talent from WCW. Now you have all this talent. What do you do with each other? So this was a very radical idea for the time. Very something that evolved and changed the landscape for years on end, for almost 2 decades. And now I kind of feel like we're at a standstill. So what do you do now? So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But if it weren't for the brand split, we wouldn't have stars like Chris Benoit, like Rey Mysterio, like Edge, like, all the stars that came out of that era because they came out of that brand split.
Phil Campbell, I'm all for a brand split if it does make WWE better, but it's a risk. You do these things, you try some things. There's been some things that on paper people are like, that's going to be so cool. And then they try it and it doesn't work. And then they move along. You know what I mean? Like Raw Underground on paper, people are like, oh, this could be interesting. And they tried it. And then no one liked it.
I was truly intrigued. Because I had that GCW format without the ropes, grimy. You could have done something good with that. I just don't think they gave it enough chance.
If you're with us, don't be afraid to subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling. Also, check out our side channel, Wrestle Binge, where we're dropping some special top 5 videos. Let's get into this story here. Discovery Media and Warner have merged in the last 6 months. This is a major merger. This directly affects All Elite Wrestling, who signed their television deal in 2019. Discovery and Warner Media were a part of the TV industry upfronts, which also included Fox and NBC. Fox and NBC had WWE talent present. John Cena was present for the game show he's doing on TBS and other projects he's working on, including a new season of HBO Max show, which is a Warner Media property, Discovery Warner Media show on HBO Max. He's on Peacemaker. So he was present there. But who wasn't present there was AEW talent. AEW talent was not a part of these upfront presentations for advertisers and media buying partners. Though they did have a slide that showed Red Velvet doing a moonsault. That was their big presentation with everything with TNT and TBS. And this is a lot less than people were expecting AEW to get at this presentation. Obviously, Discovery, Warner Media, you're talking about a full transition for the company and its ownership and its management. So is there going to be Reaganomics here? Is there going to be a trickle down? Is AEW going to be affected by it? Obviously, there's some knee-jerk reactions with it. And some people saying, come on, HBO Max, get AEW. Well, it's weird. We're going to have Double or Nothing here this weekend. It's going to be on traditional pay-per-view. You're going to pay $50 a pop for it. It's going to be available through BR Live and traditional, pay-per-view sponsors across the world. I believe you'll be able to get that on Fight TV internationally as well. So, it's interesting here as Tony Khan has heard the rumblings and is becoming quite the promoter in the modern age to kind of cool the waters. And he doesn't want people like their media partners and advertisers and other people that they do business with within the wrestling industry to feel like, oh no, they're fighting to stay in the air. Because I don't think that's the case. That isn't the case. And if that is the case, if it is, it isn't happening now. Okay. They're not directly doing that right now. So he had something to say about this, and also emphasized that AEW is still involved with Warner Media and Discovery.
There sure are, man. So Tony Khan spoke to Richard Dreich at the Sports Media Podcast, speaking about where AEW stands immediately after the merger. And he says, quote, "We're at the Forum in Los Angeles next week on June 1st, and I'm really honored, and it's a great privilege for us because a lot of top executives from Warner Brothers and Discovery are going to be at the Forum. We have a sold-out show and tons of fans coming. We've opened up more seats. It's one of our biggest crowds, one of the biggest sports markets in the world, and some of the greatest wrestling fans. It means a lot personally for me to be in the Forum to begin with, but I can't tell you what it means that a lot of top executives from Warner Brothers Discovery are not only coming for the show, but they're throwing a great event for us afterwards in the Forum. Just to have their presence to begin with, it means so much that they would come to the show, but also for the top executives in Warner Brothers Discovery family are going to have an event with us with a lot of people in AEW. We're going to hang out, and that means the world to us, getting to know each other better. They've been so supportive and great coming in. It means so much to us to be working with the largest producer of content now after this great merger and running such an efficient ship. To be part of it, putting up numbers, working hard, showing up every week," end quote. So he sounds very optimistic. The fact that the executives are doing a little shindig after the show is quite telling, because it looks like they want to keep him around.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. Obviously, they want to keep him around at least until they start talking negotiations and money and different things like that. Then you can't really show your cards. And that is no different than what Fox or NBC would want. You can't show your cards. This is a negotiation, and people want the best deal going forward for them, and it's worth noting, if you're AEW, we heard in the neighborhood between, $100 to $60 million a year, these different things, which is not WWE money. WWE is getting much, much more, much, 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 much more, and so think about it this way. They're looking for an increase. The most profitable sector of all Elite Wrestling's business isn't even live events. So they've had $1 million gates like they're going to have in Chicago with the AEW New Japan show. They're going to make a lot of money this week in Las Vegas. That isn't every week. Their most profitable sector of business, when you objectively look at it from the outside, and this is from WrestleNomics and other people I've talked to in the industry, is a television contract. It's the same thing with WWE. It's a television contract. WWE has a lot of other things they make money on: licensing, video games, integrated marketing, all these different things. And you see AEW doing some of that too, but it's on a smaller scale. That isn't a shot at it. That's just the way it is. For them, they need an increase on this deal. They need to show trajectory, growth in the rating number and the demographic number. The number, though slightly bigger on TBS, they've been there since what? What are we talking? January sometime, right?
Earlier this year.
It's a little bit bigger than it was on TNT. Is it significantly bigger? No. And then you have Rampage getting smashed by being jerked around by the playoff schedule that TNT and TBS have with the NHL and the NBA. So it's kind of hard for them with the secondary show to build up a number. And are they breaking a new number? Or is this just something where, Warner says, hey, it's a different time. It has a dedicated audience. We know they're going to stay on their cable package for our show. It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. And obviously the show is different from WWE, but kind of scratches the same itches and different things like that. So I think they're not in the worst position. This isn't like Cry to the Heavens or anything like that, but it's a different show. And do advertisers want to buy a wrestling show that isn't WWE? It's a very competitive thing to ask people. Obviously, when you see so much wrestling out there that's viable, wrestling fans in the bubble think, oh, wow, a lot of people must want to buy wrestling. How come this isn't a TV show? How come that isn't a TV show? Because it's still a trickle-down thing. WWE to advertisers is pro wrestling. And then what's this? So, that's a very hard thing to sell to some people. I know some people are like, well, how come you don't have it? Because no, it doesn't work that way. Like that's any television show operates like that. It's a television show to them. It isn't just wrestling show to them. So you have to think about it that way. Comments from people. Steven Chambers, be cool if AEW gets a subscription service by Forbidden Door pay-per-view. I don't know if that's going to happen. So we do know, obviously, AEW Double or Nothing going to be on traditional pay-per-view, as we mentioned. And coming up at the end of June is an All Elite Wrestling New Japan Pro Wrestling Super Show called Forbidden Door. That'll be in Chicago. That's going to make a lot of money as a live event. What is it going to make as a pay-per-view? Is it going to be as nearly compelling as a pay-per-view as Double or Nothing? You don't have, what do you have there to sell? You know, like that's one thing I'm thinking about. Like, is it just the ambiance of AEW versus New Japan? Is that going to be compelling? Are you going to have follow-up matches from Double or Nothing? So nothing is you have 4 weeks to push that pay-per-view. That's hard when you don't have the type of audience that a WWE does. So your margins are different. You're playing on, you want to, all right, so we have 1.5 million people relatively watch our show, right? All right, so we have to get 25% of the buy the pay-per-view for this to be profitable. So it'll be confusing to see how that plays out. Killer Kross here. Let's talk about him. Killer Kross noted this in an interview with Wrestling Inc. about a week ago, and we've learned out more from Fightful that he indeed has had conversations with AEW. He has been out of the picture for WWE for quite some time, but there's reasons for why you're not seeing him in All Elite Wrestling, and I actually kind of get this.
Yeah, man, this is a very interesting interview, and we got the report from Fightful Select a little bit earlier today, and it turns out that he was actually offered the position before W. Morrissey. So, in the Fightful Select said that W. Morrissey wasn't the only person who was pitched to be part of the Wardlow / MJF storyline. Killer Kross, formerly known as Karrion Kross, was approached for the match against Wardlow. However, Fightful Select was told that the two sides couldn't come into terms for the appearance and decided against it. At Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor post-show, Scrum Tony Khan said that he had enjoyed Killer Kross and Scarlett's work and was open to doing something with them in the future. Kross was approached by AEW after those comments, and a tentative plan for him to work on the May 4th show was mentioned. Fightful Select also heard that the talks fell apart as the date got closer, Kross became aware that his wife Scarlett would not be part of the presentation in All Elite Wrestling. Kross was also concerned that his introduction to the AEW audience would mimic that of his WWE debut against Jeff Hardy, as opposed to the successful NXT formula that helped him get to NXT titles. So once he found out what the result's going to be, he's like, I'm out, because he did not want that sour taste that he got in his mouth after he jobbed to Jeff Hardy. So I totally understand where he's coming from. Right now, he's having a phenomenal run in the independent scene, doing his thing with Control Your Narrative. So I'm very excited for Killer Kross's future, but I think this is a great decision from Killer Kross.
Steve Sir saying Killer Kross would be a great fit for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I absolutely agree. And obviously New Japan in bed with AEW is just a way to bring him in that way. It's interesting that AEW doesn't have any interest in Scarlett. That's part of the presentation he wants to do. He wants to sell it as a package deal. Is that something he can do again in Impact? He has a very bad standing in Impact. They had a nasty breakup. Him and Scarlett left there together on their own terms. I'm rooting for them. I think they're really, really talented people that definitely didn't get the right play of cards in WWE, both of them. And I would hope that they would find themselves on television again. Obviously, they're booked through the independent circuit like crazy. I think they're going to do some big things. Also, guys, if you're not watching someone on weekly television, that doesn't mean they're not making money wrestling. All right, exactly. So you have to be clear of that. And objectively, people have to hear that too. So rooting for Killer Kross. Maybe we get to talk to him sometime this year. I'm working on a Killer Kross conversation. It'd be very, very fun.
I'm reaching out to him like every other week. I know he's a busy guy.
I was going to say let's do it here. One of the more talked about. Go ahead, buddy.
Funny story on Karrion Kross or Killer Kross. So I was at the airport here in Orlando.
This is a great story. I've heard this. I want to hear this again.
So I'm heading out to Dallas from Orlando during WrestleMania week, and my wife and I get to the gate. We sit down. We
shout
put our
out
coffees
Brenda.
and whatever.
Shout out Brenda.
And shout out to my wife Brenda. And all of a sudden, I see Kross and Scarlett. They're sitting down and my wife was like, "Poppy, look!" And I'm like, "I know. It's them. It's fine. Whatever." So anyways, so I sit across from them, right? And I give a nod to Kross, and he gives me a nod back. And he stops and looks at me. He's like, "I know who you are." And I'm like, "I know who you are." And I'm like, the fact that he knows who the hell we are, that means he probably watches us online or something like that. But the fact that he knows that who we are, who I am, was really awesome. But interesting story. He was on his way to Dallas to do some work for New Japan and had that match with Suzuki. And he mentioned that he was doing some other projects, which will tie into our last story because it was very interesting. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. But let's jump into this big story that we got to find out last night on NXT. Nikita Lyons, Yam Yam Bigelow, Nikita Lyons,
Master of the Clam Slam.
Master of the Clam Slam is no longer part of the NXT Breakout Tournament. Sucks. It was announced yesterday that she suffered an injury. I know. Immediately getting replaced by Tiffany Stratton, who was able to advance to the finals. And now she'll be facing Roxanne Perez at In Your House for the finals. The winner will earn an opportunity for the women's title at NXT. But man, what was your thought when you heard this news on Nikita? Man, she was on a red hot streak. She had a rocket strap to her back. She was on the way up, and now this is terrible.
Fans not a fan of it. Eric Cavalera, who's our in-house artist, he does all of the great artwork for us on our Twitter feed and did all of the Sportskeeda awards. Shout out to Eric. He does a fantastic artwork. Seek it out. Thank you so much, Eric. He says, damn it. It's his favorite Blink-182 album. Damn it. No, there's a lot of people I know that are upset about this because I know all the people that are thirst trapping, and Nikita is a very gorgeous woman who's she has a look that like jumps off the screen. Say a lot of people have that look. In wrestling, you always want that, and she has that look. And then on top of it is physically imposing. You can buy that she could beat somebody up. Very hard to get all that in one person in wrestling, and she has all that, and you can tell she has this like very real thing that you can build on. And I remember seeing something very fun from her online. People said, "What's your gimmick? What's your gimmick?" She's like, "Me, I'm the gimmick." And I was like, "Oh, like we got some fire here. I like that." And her openness to learn, she seems like she's a good learner. You can see that.
She was awesome when we talked to her last summer during the tryouts.
Yeah, saw her when she got signed. She got signed that day.
She got signed that day, and her attitude was awesome. Like Triple H even said it during the scrum and afterwards. That she was definitely one of the top prospects. She does have a prior pro wrestling experience, but there is something about that young woman. Like even when we were interviewing her she has presence. You know how how you were describing me to my brother? Like he has presence. Nikita Lyons got presence.
And the it factor.
Yes, man. And it's so unfortunate that she has this injury. I hope she's not out long and she comes back sooner rather than later. I wouldn't not be surprised if she just skips all of that red tape and just gets up to the main roster as soon as she's back from injury.
I don't know. I would have her stay in NXT because here's the thing. NXT needs people that stand out. Even though it's a developmental show, it's still a television show. And it's a show that needs stars that are on the rise that you still want to tune in for and see. You need your favorites. That's what people want on every television show. Is you want to be able to tune in and see your favorites from time to time. And Nikita Lyons, for whatever reason you want to say, all right, has this personality that has been exciting when a lot of people are down on NXT 2.0. She has been one of the things where people say, like, well, not this person or not this. This is something I really cool, or that person I really enjoy. And she's a part of that list. She's in that column.
Yeah, people are like, oh, I don't care for him, or I'll watch because of her. I'll watch because of her. Mm-hmm. So, man, it just sucks. I just hope that she gets back quicker and faster and better than ever.
Something else that sucks is this unfortunate situation with Sasha Banks and Naomi. Nothing has really changed. We don't have anything new to report on it besides Sasha Banks and her cousin Snoop D-O-double-G, the dog father, the Snoop Lion himself at one point. Yes, the master of the sticky icky, the dankest of the dank. He is now jumping into another project. He has a million different projects. He has TV shows on Peacock. He had a TV show with Martha Stewart. He had the Snoop Dogg Fizzle Shizzle show on MTV. He has all these different things.
Listen, Snoop Dogg is probably the busiest guy in entertainment at this very moment in time.
He is the kiss of rap. He will put his name on anything. Peacock.
He's got a few. Oh, dude, this guy is so busy.
So here's the thing. People are talking about him. And everyone who's a celebrity who can log into the email apparently is getting offered some type of NFT deal. And Sasha Banks and Snoop Dogg are working on some NFT deal, a non-fungible token, a phrase and a series of letters that I wish I really never knew. Because is the ceiling on this already breaking? There's plenty of people that are saying it's not real. David Blarkey saying NFTs are MLMs. That is multi-level marketing schemes for people who think they are too smart for MLMs.
That's funny. That's funny that David Barclay from the Barclays Center says that, because I know he's a little bit in the stock market and in assets and all that things. I dive deep into that. I'm into the NFT world and cryptocurrency, and I find this fascinating because this hits back to the story I was talking about, Killer Cross at the airport, because when he was on his way to Dallas, he was talking to me about he was getting together with some developers to participate in an NFT project. So we're starting to see this happen, not only just with wrestlers, we're seeing this with professional basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan is about to launch his NFT on an XRP Ripple project. That means Chinese to you guys, but that's a really great company that's going to be launching here very soon. And that's a huge deal for Michael Jordan to be getting into that NFT space. Tom Brady's getting into that space, into the NFT space. Basically, I understand why people are like, oh, this is scam. But you know what? Snoop Dogg, for example. Snoop Dogg owned the biggest piece of metaverse real estate. Okay. The biggest piece in the metaverse.
Metaverse real estate. Come on, dude.
Metaverse real estate.
Come on,
and people
dude.
Are paying thousands upon hundreds of thousands just to get a piece of property next to Snoop Dogg's property.
They're paying for avatars. This is ridiculous.
Listen, I know it's crazy, but this is the world, and we're going to hear a lot more of this going forward. WWE got into NFT projects last year with The Undertaker during WrestleMania. We didn't see any of that this year, but it's very interesting that Sasha Banks is getting into this space as well. And they call Snoop Dogg the king of NFTs. So we'll see what happens here, but this is very interesting, and don't be surprised if we hear more of these in the future.
I know you're excited about this, and I have a differing opinion on this, but I mean, as Snoop Dogg once said in that one song, drop it like it's not. Drop it like it's not. Drop it like it's not. I'm an ass. People still asking what's an NFT. Yes, that does happen.
It's a non-fungible token. Basically, just to kind of give you a quick grasp, you know how when you go to the store and you pay for these earbuds at Target, right?
Yes.
When you physically pay for this item, you get a receipt. The NFT is the receipt proving that you bought that item and that you have full ownership to that item. That's what an NFT is. So basically, they're incorporating whatever that information on that receipt is embedded into that picture on a blockchain, which is, again, I'm speaking Chinese to a lot of you guys, but basically that's how it works. And nobody can make any changes or amendments but the owner. And you can end up selling it later on and flip it for, 3, 30, 50, 100 times the value of what you paid for it. So there's people that do that. So that's basically what an NFT is. So sorry. I know that's not the space we're in, but you guys asked. So I'm just
there you go. You asked and you learned, and it's late in the show, and maybe you're still with us. So that's pretty sweet. If you haven't done so, go ahead and give us a follow on the Twitter machine. You can follow him at Jose_G_official. He's also on the Instagram. You can follow me on the Instagram at KevKellam6. It's my Twitter handle, just +6. All right, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Kev Kellam. More than 3,000. It's pretty sweet. I'll take it. Yeah, it's pretty sweet stuff. Subscribe to our channels. We're on the YouTubes. All right, marching towards 30,000. 30,000 people.
Less than 300.
So help us get there. If you have friends that like our channel or they watch wrestling stuff online, tell them about our stuff. We are for diehards. We are for casuals. Guess what? Even if you've been watching wrestling for 3 weeks, you're a fan. All right. If you've booed a guy and cheered another guy, you're a fan. All right. Whether or not you like it or not, you got to share it with your little brother. All right. So thank you for turning anyone onto the channel. You are our best megaphone. We really, really appreciate you guys and love you guys. Shout out to the whole team in India, Raju, Aranava, and everyone working hard on all the video content we've just dropped over on all of our different channels. Go check it out. We have a bunch of little things you may not see here that are over there too. If you like little bits, we have little bits for you too. And of course, shout out to Jeremy Benner, who's going to be back with us tomorrow. He's on assignment, drinking Jameson.
David from the Barclays Center is asking if we're going to have a Twitch stream tonight. So Jeremy is off on assignment tonight, so he is not doing a stream tonight. He will be back next week. We're working on the rosters, and we're going to be doing some live commentary during the Twitch in the simulation matches. So it should be really fun. Keep your guys out, keep your ears out, because we're going to be plugging in.
Hello? Did I drop out? Did he drop out? Who dropped out?
Our Twitch.
Oh, what happened there? Yeah, there we go. At least it happened at the end. Thank you guys so much for watching this show. We appreciate it. People saying, sign off, Kevin. Sign off, dumbass.
Idea what's going on with
That's okay. Ridiculous. It's all right.
All right, man. Let's get out of here.
DeSantis didn't like what you were doing. He's like, knock it off. I don't want you talking about that.
He says, shut up. We don't want you talking about NFTs or cryptocurrency. We're gonna mess up your internet stream. But guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media. We'll be back tomorrow at 6:30. And as always, remember, when you're watching wrestling, you have to do that one most important thing, which is enjoy it. Enjoy wrestling.
Yeah. Talk to them.
Talk to them.
Talking to him.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!